Thank you to Pique for sponsoring. More on them later. I'm sharing my secret and highly effective intermittent fasting technique that I know will help you on your journey. Hello everyone, Jennifer here, and welcome back to the Daily Connoisseur. I have been doing intermittent fasting for the past 3.5 years now, and I love sharing my experience with you online because I'm learning a lot through the process, and I'm able to share with you what works, what doesn't work, and looking back on why my experience has been successful, because not only have I lost the weight that I wanted to lose, but I've kept it off, and I also continue to do fasting because I just feel great when I do it in all other areas of my life. But when I look back at why this experience has been successful, there's one key ingredient to my journey that has made it so. And strangely enough, this is one of the principles I learned while living in Paris. I am the author of the Madame Chic series, and in my first book, Lessons from Madame Chic, the very first anecdote that I tell in that book, strangely, relates to this success with intermittent fasting. So my first chapter is called Snacking is So Not Chic. And in the very beginning of my book, I tell about the experience of when I was a foreign exchange student living in Paris in a French apartment with a real French family. The very first story that I tell is about how on my first night there, I was trying to sneak to the kitchen for a snack. And my French host mother, who I call Madame Chic, stopped me. And she said, where are you going? What are you doing? And I was a bit sheepish because I sensed that this wasn't really a snacking house. And so I said, I'm just needing a glass of water. She went and got me the water. She brought it back, and that was it. And I knew from that moment on, she had set the tone that I was not going to be going into their kitchen for any midnight snacks. So what does this have to do with intermittent fasting? Because intermittent fasting doesn't tell you what to eat, it tells you when to eat. But way back then, before I even knew about intermittent fasting, I was practicing the principles of it while I was living in Paris, because after dinner, the kitchen was closed. And that is my tip for you today, that the kitchen should frequently be closed. All right, let me back up and explain all of this. So, in America, many of us have open plan houses where the kitchen just flows seamlessly into the living room. That's how it is in our house. And many houses that I see, that I visit and that I see on the internet. Because in modern life, the kitchen is the heart of the home. It's the hub. It's where people gather. You walk through the kitchen several times a day. And usually when you walk through the kitchen, you also pop a few things in your mouth and you're snacking, right? Unconsciously. So it wasn't that way in Paris. In the apartment that I lived in France, the kitchen was way at the back, down a long dark corridor. It was not attached to any room. You had to specifically go there in order to get there. And it wasn't one of these big, beautiful modern kitchens that we have here. It was a little tiny kitchen with, old appliances, and it was really nothing to write home about. But I mentioned in my book that that kitchen produced some of the best meals I've ever had in my life. But it was also not always open. It was very clear, the tone was set in the household that the kitchen would produce breakfast, lunch, and dinner, maybe like a tea time snack too, or a tea time drink, but that was it. You wouldn't go into the kitchen to find like a bag of chips and start snacking. It just was not done, okay? So that's why I called the first chapter of Lessons from Madame Chic, Snacking is So Not Chic, because in Paris, it was not chic and you didn't do it. And so I cut it out of my diet. Now, I wasn't doing intermittent fasting per se in Paris because we had late dinners there and I would wake up relatively early and have breakfast. So I wasn't doing the 16-8 method in Paris. However, after dinner, the kitchen was closed. And between meals, the kitchen was closed. And I think that that is a crucial thing that our society is missing today, because our kitchens are open all the time. It's like this. In America, if you want to go to a restaurant, like let's say at a strange hour, like 3:30 in the afternoon, let's say you want to go get some food. Most restaurants are open in America. They're kind of like just open all day long and late into the night. But if you've ever had the experience of traveling to a foreign country, sometimes I'll even go to England and we'll want to order some Chinese food or some Indian food or something delicious like that. And we have to wait until the restaurant opens at like 5:30 in order to order it. This even happened at the fish and chip shop, okay? And I'm thinking, what? Why aren't they open all day long? Like, what is this? So it's funny because in America, we are accustomed just having food whenever we want it at whatever time we want it, okay? There's something nice to that, but there's also a dark side to it. And it makes me wonder how many people are just never closing their kitchen. How many people are treating their kitchen like a 24-hour diner where you just go in and eat all the time. And this could be related to the obesity epidemic. And I do have a few articles that I'm going to share with you a bit later about this. But I think that a problem for a lot of people, and the reason why many people are either overweight or they just do not feel good, they feel lethargic all the time, is because they are snacking all the time. And I know that when I was at my worst, when I wasn't feeling well, when I was overweight, it was because I had introduced snacking back into my life. I thought, you know, it doesn't really count if I'm working late into the night and I have a bowl of cereal at 10 p.m. or a few snacks here and there after dinner. But it does count. We're going to continue this discussion, but I'm going to break away for 1 minute to tell you about Pique, who have kindly sponsored today's video. So you know how much I love Pique. I love their teas. They're absolutely delicious and convenient, and my favorite are their fasting teas. Their fasting teas come in award-winning flavors that won't break your fast. Their different flavors have different benefits. So in the morning, you could try bergamot black fasting tea or Earl Grey. In the middle of the day, you could try ginger green or matcha fasting teas that promote digestion. And in the evening, you could try caffeine-free cinnamon herbal fasting tea, which helps to maintain your blood sugar levels. A delightful post-meal indulgence. Pique's revolutionary tea crystals are ultra effective and pure with no prep or brewing required. That's what I love about them. It's perfect if you're just doing a single serving, like just for yourself. You don't have to brew a big pot of like loose leaf tea or anything. Their cold extraction technology delivers concentrated antioxidants for maximum benefits, and their teas are triple toxin screened for purity. For a limited time, get 12% off plus a free gift with purchase when you shop my link, piquelife.com/dailyconnoisseurfasting, and thank you to Pique for sponsoring today's video. So if you embrace the idea that the kitchen can be closed in between meals and after dinner, here's how that's going to help you. Because you're going to embrace that. You're going to embrace the mindset that you don't need those snacks. Unless a doctor is telling you that you need to eat several times a day because of a health condition you have, then of course you listen to your doctor. But otherwise, if you have a healthy breakfast, if you have a nice lunch and a nice dinner, you typically don't need to have popcorn or potato chips or whatever it is that you like to eat after dinner. You're going to be just fine until the next morning. And so when you get into that mindset of cutting out those late night snacks, intermittent fasting is easier for you. I know a lot of people who do it, they say, okay, I'm doing pretty good, and then after dinner, like 3 hours later, I am ravenously hungry. And I did experience that in the beginning. So what I would do is drink some water or have a cup of herbal tea. That's what I would do, and I would just push through those feelings because I knew that I wasn't starving. I had had 3 meals in the day plus tea time. I was going to be absolutely fine. So I pushed through those meals, but it was because my body was used to that bowl of cereal at 10 o'clock at night or whatever it was that I was eating. It's because of that that my body told myself that it was hungry. So when you embrace that the kitchen is closed, like it's closed, it's like a restaurant, you know, let's say I'm in England and I want the fish and chips, they're not open. I can't get them because they're not open. So it's the same thing with your kitchen. If you tell yourself, you know what, after dinner, the kitchen's closed. You can have water or herbal tea and that's it. It eventually helps you. Now, what about snacking in between meals? So that's nothing to do with intermittent fasting because once your eating window is open, you can eat, you know, what you like according to how you like to eat. But you will find that the more that you do intermittent fasting, the less you want to snack, the cleaner you want your meals to be. You will want to have delicious, gourmet, clean meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. and you crave that. You're not going to want the puffy cheese crisps or whatever it was that you like to eat. You just won't want them anymore. And it may seem like that's an impossibility, but it's true. Over time, you just don't desire them anymore. So even though you can have those if you want in your eating window, you don't want them. I did an interview with my dear friend and colleague, Brian Kozlowski, on Long Live the Queen. And that interview has affected me so much because we talked about being a cool eater and a hot eater in that interview, and I'll link it up above. But when you're a hot eater, you are constantly thinking about food, constantly wanting to snack, constantly thinking about your next meal, and it rules your life. Intermittent fasting makes you a cool eater, where it doesn't rule your life. You're not constantly thinking about what you're going to eat next, like absolutely desiring a snack, letting it rule you. You don't really care whether you have one or not. It doesn't matter. And it's in a good way. I looked up a lot of scientific studies, and it is true that Americans are snacking too much. So from the National Library of Medicine, I pulled up a research article that says snacks are a staple of the American diet, accounting for nearly a quarter, 22% of total energy intake among adults. That is a lot. So what is the impact of snacking according to Harvard School of Public Health? This is what they say: unwanted weight gain. If portions or frequency of snacking is too much, adding excess calories. Too much snacking can reduce hunger at meal times or cause one to skip a meal entirely, which increases the risk of losing out on important nutrients. So according to Harvard, and this only makes sense, that if you are snacking, you're not going to be hungry for your meal time. And typically our meal times are more thought out. You know, we try to include vegetables, protein, carbs. We try to eat healthy meals, most of us. And if we're snacking all day, we don't even want that meal when it comes. And I write about this in Lessons from Madame Chic. It's nice to see it backed by Harvard, because it's true. When you are snacking all day, you don't want the meal. And if somebody has prepared a beautiful meal for you, or you've prepared it yourself, why not save yourself for that meal and enjoy it thoroughly, right? And then this last piece of information from the United States Department of Agriculture states that on average, 24% of adults' total daily calories are consumed at snacking occasions. Now that is very close to the other one, which was done in a different year, that said 22%. Either way, that's a huge percentage of snacking calories. Now, here's how intermittent fasting helps with this. It stops you at least from eating before breakfast and after dinner. Most people don't really snack before breakfast. That's not usually a problem. It's the after dinner snacking. I think that's when people sit in front of the TV and then they have all their snacks with them because it feels good. It's that dopamine hit to get it. Or maybe you're doing that before dinner and then you're not hungry for your dinner. So intermittent fasting, like I said, helps that. It closes the kitchen after dinner. Fermé, as they would say in French. It's closed, okay? So the kitchen is closed after dinner with intermittent fasting, and frequently you'll find that it's also closed between meals because you simply do not want to snack anymore. Something else that helps me is my SMART scale, because I track my progress and I love doing that. So I mentioned the Fit Track a few months ago. I've been using it for a long time, like 6 months. And I love this thing. So the Fit Track Smart Scale is a scale where you step on it and it does all of your measurements. And you put the app right next to it, it downloads onto the app and it tells you everything you want to know. Like for example, it tells you your weight, obviously, it tells you your fat, like your body fat percentage, your muscle mass, BMR, that's important, your metabolic age. I love it. So I feel like if you're able to track your progress and you're seeing an improvement, that also helps. So I'm gonna leave the Fit Track Smart Scale below. I love, love, love it. So let's say that you are new on this journey and you are struggling in the evenings. You're used to snacking late into the evening and you've cut that out and you're struggling. The best thing to do is drink water, drink one of the fasting teas, for example. That really helps me. Brush your teeth, maybe go to bed early, distract yourself by reading a book or doing something else. And you will eventually train your body to be okay with that. You're not going to need that midnight bowl of cereal anymore. You just won't. Over time, it goes away, the urge. So I hope this video has encouraged you. I love reading the comments on these videos because I like hearing about your own experience. So if you have experience with this, do you snack too much? Have you cut out snacking entirely? Do you struggle with snacking in the evening? What's your story with snacking? Is the kitchen ever closed in your house? What's your personal family policy? Let us know in the comment section down below. Thank you so much to Pique for sponsoring. Don't forget that for a limited time, you can get 12% off plus a free gift with purchase when you shop my link, piquelife.com/dailyconnoisseurfasting. Thanks so much everyone for joining us today. Keep calm and remain classy, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.